Welcome back to SWAM course on Design Thinking and Innovation. This is week 6. We're going to look at case study. C6, week 6. It's a very interesting case study. Design of a takeout box called as lab crate. So let's look at its contents. The project follows the 6 steps of the design process, starting with research, analysis, ideation, prototyping, feedback, and creating a business model. These are some of the tools which have been used in the project: brainstorming, mind mapping, interviews and surveys, idea analysis, and idea sketching. So if you look at the project, it has secondary research, primary research, and use of these tools, prototype techniques, use of feedback and validation, iteratively to redo the design, and that's the case study.
Hello, our team are Amir, Abhijit, and Kadir, and we are the Muggins. The project problem statement was to design a product, service, media, or system seeking creative, innovative, out-of-the-box solutions for a post-COVID-19 environment and turn this into a business enterprise. We started our process by listing out problems we have in our life and what we think will continue post-COVID. And these problems included screen time, health-related, socializing, etc. After this, we sat together and noted all the major sectors affected by this and further detailed on the problems. And for further insight, we floated a form. We asked questions like what new habits have they started after COVID, what things they do in life have stopped due to COVID, and what would they love to do once the pandemic is over. And most of the answers included they want to go out, go on vacation trips with family, friends, relatives, they want to socialize, and they want to work out, exercise. All these were the most common answers.
We combined the answers that we got from the survey from the problems that we have already identified and listed a few core problems. Out of these, we chose a few based on our interests and scope for solutions. We brainstormed on the different aspects of each of these and did some research to try and narrow down our focus to one of these. The first problem was home repair services. The biggest problem was fear of infection for both the user and the vendor. The other problem was that the user may not know all the services available to them. During research, we found quite a few services which aim to solve this problem, like Just Dial. Next up, we focused on public spaces, which is in major demand in the current scenario. We thought about how we could design a space to enable safe socializing post-COVID using various technologies that are gaining traction due to the special circumstances that COVID introduced. But what we realized was that this may be out of our scope given our time frame and scale of the problem. Finally, restaurants. We try to identify the major factors that makes restaurants popular and also the safety risks that restaurants pose in order to understand how we could move forward with our idea.
How will the restaurant scene will be after the pandemic? So we asked this question to our friends, relatives to find out their view, how they will see the restaurant scene. And in this post-COVID society, takeout and food delivery industry is booming and the dining is dying. There is an increase in people eating inside their vehicles on their trips and also during rush hours to office and schools. In major metro cities in India, out of 83% restaurants closed due to pandemic, 10% are already permanently shut down and 30% more could also follow the same fate. There are commercial cooking facilities called cloud kitchens, which are rising so fast, and this does not have dining features and only takeout and delivery. And this is projected to be a $2 billion industry by 2024. Why eat in your car? So in the post-pandemic world, vehicles provide a private space which is safer from the outside environment. It is a huge time saver for people who rush to their workspace and institutes. The users can eat their food fast and fresh as soon as they buy from the restaurants, rather than waiting a long time to reach home or other spaces to eat.
We looked at various products and services that were already available currently to have food in cars We found a few products that were not very popular due to size constraints and inconvenience in its usage. We also looked at services like drive-through and drive-ins, which currently is not widely available in India, to understand how we could incorporate the advantages that these services provide. Then we ranked these problems based on a few criteria that we thought were important, like demand, availability, profitability, and assign points to each topic to help us decide our focus.
So after doing this, we decided to focus on the restaurant idea and arrived at this redefined focus. To make eating in your car a more enjoyable and comfortable experience. And then we decided to conduct more user interviews and research into this topic. We asked the users questions about their experience with restaurants and eating in their cars. And we got these major insights from the user interviews. When asked what they look for in a restaurant other than food, they said the cleanliness, ambience, and privacy was the most important. And then they also felt that the cleanliness, safety, and ambience also had to improve in the restaurants currently. When asked about what issues they faced when they were having a meal in their car, they said it was messy and it was inconvenient. There was no proper space to keep their food in. That was some of the major problems they had. And when asked about the advantages of eating in a car, they said it saves time, it's very private, and they're also able to eat homemade food.
So one of our major stakeholders are hotel and other food court owners. And we could interview one individual who owns the restaurants in Kerala. We asked him questions about the dining, takeout, social distancing, and health of the customers and workers, and his view about drive-in and drive-through restaurants. He answered dining in was stopped when COVID outbreak happened, and it is also dying very fast due to the pandemic. And in the future, he looked forward more to takeout in restaurants. Online delivery services rose by so much, and prices reduced for the food in the same. And he thinks drive-thrus will be easier to start, as the licenses to start proper dining hotels are getting very hard to get. Also, even if everyone orders food online and do takeouts, he doubts if drive-ins and drive-thru will be successful in India.
How are the existing solutions failing? Who are our users and what are some possible design solutions that we can work on? We brainstormed to try and answer these questions based on the research we had already done. We tried to understand why drive-through restaurants aren't popular in India like they are outside. We found an article on why this is. The major problem is that India doesn't have enough people traveling by car for it to be viable. In India, people generally prefer to travel via public transportation or private vehicles. We identified a few areas that we wanted to get more information on for product specifications from the brainstorming.
Then we came back and discussed on all the major factors affecting our problem statement. We focused on topics, cars, foods, and tables. We looked at dimensions of cars, the interiors in the most of the cars bought in India. We looked at places inside the car to store and attach the tables. We looked how the data released by online food delivery services about the major food which is selected by the users. And also we looked at pros and cons of existing solutions.
So we researched about the number of cars sold with respect to the make, model, and what sort of cars were sold. And we realized that most of the cars were sold by Maruti Suzuki, which will help us when we are designing for the interior of the car. And we also obtained pictures of interiors of our cars from our users to help us better understand what they look like to help us with our product. So we also researched about the food being sold and bought in India to help us understand how our product should be. So we researched about the most popular food sold in India and what the average weight of a single portion would be. We also researched about the Indian eating habits, how they like to share dishes within the same family, and how a lot of dishes have separate side dishes which need to be eaten, which also need to be included along with the food.
We found 4 desks which were the most bought in India. These were Cute Queen, Oshoto, Elephant Desk, and Greatmaster. And this was really specified to one location to attach and use. This was the most common drawback for all these 4 tables.
After this, we started ideating on possible solutions that we can bring. We had a few factors to consider while doing the ideations, namely storage, the connecting mechanism, and the type of food that was being consumed. At this stage, we focused on storage and placement of the table, since those are more important to the overall structure of the table. Here are some of the ideas that we came up with initially.
So we went back to understand the car from inside. We wanted to understand the possible points where we store and attach the desk. While doing this, we took a cardboard box of 35 centimeter into 40 centimeter dimensions to study the space needed to use it and move it inside the car. Then we did a discussion again to study the target users, materials, possible multi-purposes, storage and attachability, and the way it could be sold. From all the insights we got, we started ideation, and we explored the rolling table idea as central attachment. One is a rolling table idea, another one a central attachment to attach the table on the front and back of the car. A cardboard box which is come along with the food packaging, which is turned into a desk, and a table which goes on the door, but this needed alternation in the car, and one behind the seat symbol attachment, just like it goes onto the boot of the car. So from the selected ideas, we selected 4 ideas from this. One where it goes in the front seats, which is a permanent attachment. Another one, the similar technique, but it is a rolling table, so that after the use, the table can be detached and rolled and stored in the boot of the car. So we decided to focus on 2 types of food groups instead of making it universal. We got very valuable feedback from the initial ideation and also decided to make it part of a takeout packaging. For this, we studied cardboard boxes and takeout trays. We looked at solutions for dosa and biryani packaging because that was the most ordered food from our research. We also looked at Japanese food packaging and origami and cardboard folding techniques. We went forward to group the major food choices into 2, which were roll type of food and rice type. Roll type included chapati, paratha, appam, and rice type included fried rice, Maggi, biryani, and so on. With all this information, we did another set of ideation where we made clusters of ideas based on opening techniques and placing on lap or hand for both the food groups. We selected unique champion ideas from the list and did a pro and con analysis.
Since most of our ideas were based on eating with the food on the lap, we figured that we need to use anthropometric data to decide the dimension of the box. Along with that, we also had to take the size required by food into consideration. For making a mock-up, we decided to take dosa as an example since it would require the largest size. These are the values that we needed to do it. We used the 50th percentile of all values to accommodate the largest group in terms of the body sizes. For dosa dimensions, we used the standard diameter of dosa tawas that are available online. The next problem we needed to address was the heat transfer. Since the box is meant to be placed on the lap, there is a need to consider how we insulate the heat from the food and the lap. We came up with different ways to try and solve this issue, like using an aluminum foil inside to shield the heat or trying to introduce an air gap between the food and the thigh. We decided to use corrugated sheet as the outermost layer to solve this issue. Since the corrugated sheet has a gap in it, it restricts heat transfer through it. So along with the material of the box, introducing an extra layer of the corrugated sheet will help in reducing the heat.
From the list of ideas, we selected 2 based on ease of use and functionality. We tried to detail these a bit to help fix on one idea. The first one is a concept where the food is packed in a prism-shaped container that has flaps that can be used as an eating surface. This idea involves tightly packing the food in a central compartment which will stay in between the legs when in use. But the problem with this idea was that we were not able to maintain its balance and open state since most of the weight is in the center, which makes it bend downwards. So we chose to focus on the other concept. The next concept involved a container with a lot of space to eat in to reduce spilling of food into the cart. It also had a side dish tray which can be customized to suit the food that it is being served in. We also left an empty slot in the side dish tray to be used as a waste compartment to help eat comfortably. The side dish tray could also come with a compartment that can be used as a cup holder to hold a cup of chai or a can of soda. The concept also has 2 flaps which are folded down while eating to form a handle on the bottom. This serves 2 functions. One to facilitate eating in the hand, and the other to help support the tray when it's on the lap. We also made a prototype using cardboard to understand the size in a real life situation. We made it based on the anthropometric measurements, and we also learned about the part of the flap which is actually heat insulating needs to be big enough to cover the whole box, and that the box might be a little too big for an actual use case.
So from all the feedback, we did a final set of ideation where we focused on 2 ideas. One where the whole table goes on the lap, and another one where the whole desk goes in the palm. So the smaller one which goes on the palm was disregarded when we focused more on the one which goes on the lap. We tried out features like the whole lid folding backwards and attached to another separate lid which comes from the bottom to act as an extra table space, and a detachable flap from the bottom which can come out and hold the whole box on the lap. After that, we tried various form explorations, and also to get a better experience while eating, we tried to change the flap idea which comes from the bottom into a T-shaped side flap when pressed inside, which will get detached and falls down, and this will help for the box to stay on the lap better. So this explains the T shape better. And we also tried a few variations for the side dish tray, which should be leak proof, and we tried a few methods so that it will be easier to manufacture and works better. So with the limited resources we have, we tried to explore the form using 3D models. We tried making the model using paper and also using cardboard.
So this is an animation of how our final product would work, how it from a flat sheet it becomes into a box. So this is the 3D model of our product, the lab crate. This shows how it would be located in the lab and how it can be used to as a cup holder for the soda can. These are the features of our product. It has a longer eating space for comfortable eating, so that when they're eating it inside a car, it reduces the spilling. It has leak-proof side dish compartments, which are made of a different material, so that it doesn't spill onto the cardboard or the main dish. The product has a heat-insulated base. As you can see, the side dish compartments do not touch the base at all. There is an air gap which provides heat insulation. And as you can see, the base has two layers. The upper layer does not touch the lower layer at all. So there is another layer of heat insulation there, so that the person who's eating this does not feel uncomfortable. Our lab kit also has deployable side flaps, which will help you support the box on the thigh. This is made of biodegradable and recyclable materials, so this is perfect for one-time use. And it also has a sleeve for the cutlery, napkins, and sachets, as you can see here under the lab crate logo.
So for the visual design branding part, we tried various logos for our Muggins group, and then another one, separate one for the whole box. So these are the steps we followed. So this is the logo in a white background. We selected on few infographics to show on the box. One where it shows the whole cycle of dosa and or biryani or different food groups, food types which we select, which will go on the inside of the flap, inside of the lid, and also a few food illustrations, simple black and white illustrations, which would go on the outside of the box. We selected black and white illustrations so that it is food safe and does not cost more than our minimum cost.
Our major customers are students, drivers, office workers, family, and friends on trips. The box will allow people with a busy lifestyle save time during their commutes, and also it enables users to eat from any place they like during their trip. The market for the box is growing with the growing number of car sales in India, even with the pandemic, and with restaurants switching to takeouts and delivery more than dining during COVID. Services like Zomato has even introduced a self-pickup section for ordering food, which you can pick up en route. The box will be marketed through hotels on their menu and ad boards, and users can choose to get the food in the lab crate during takeout for a small package charge. We are also considering selling the boxes online or through retail stores for users to directly buy and pack food for their trips. We'll be sending cut crease sheet to restaurants where they can assemble as needed per day. The side dish trays are molded as sets of 6, and the restaurants can break it into sets of 2 or 3 depending on the type of food being packed. Their takeaway section where they can choose to have their food packed in a lab crate box. We're also thinking about partnering with services like Swiggy and Zomato, and having the option to pack their food in lab crate with an optional eat in your car packaging service that Zomato or Swiggy can offer when they order food for takeout through the services. For our revenue streams, we plan to outsource manufacturing to existing packaging units and distribute the box to restaurants ourselves. A manufacturer quoted the price of 500 boxes to be around rupees 20 per box, and a bagasse container of similar surface area of the side dish tray cost rupees 5 on the market. From these, we estimated the manufacturing cost to be under 30 rupees, which would be lower when we mass manufacture. We'd like to express our gratitude to our mentors, Professor Ravi Poovaiah, Professor Ajanta Sen, and Professor Avinash Shinde, and Mr. Guruprasad Rao for their guidance throughout the 5 weeks. We'd also like to thank Professor B.K. Chakravarti and Mr. Harish Mehta for their valuable help and feedback about the project. Thank you.
So thanks a lot for listening. That was section C6, week 6. Just wanted to mention, outset in the beginning, it might seem that design of a packaging box is a very simple issue, it can be done in a jiffy, but you can see that how much thought, thinking, care has gone into this project. And following the design process has helped them in coming out with a very unique solution with a lot of care to details, to the needs of the user, and a solution which also takes care of the materials, and it can be implemented quite nicely. And so you can look at it that they actually identified a need and a solution which fits the need, and it's a very viable solution. So let's sum it up. Week 6, we looked at the design process. It was the part 2 of the primary research. Further user studies with questionnaires and talking to the experts, making use of cue cards. Make use of this in your project. And then we saw this case study on doing a takeout box. Let's have a look at week 7, the week ahead. We start the week 7 with analysis. This part 1 of the data analysis. We'll also introduce mappings with respect to artifacts, spatial mappings, that's mapping of spaces, mappings also connected with time, the temporal mappings. So the tools will take care of how to do the mappings and apply it in your project. And then this will be followed with a case study.